In recent years, the polling rate of controllers has been rising higher and higher, from 1,000, 2,000, to now 4,000 and even 8,000 polling rates. What impact does a high polling rate actually have on our gaming? Does a high polling rate equal low latency? In today's episode of GameSir Reviews, we'd like to explore this topic with you. What is polling rate? It refers to the number of times per second a controller sends data to the host. Its unit is hertz. At a low polling rate, for example 125 hertz, it's like the controller telling the host 125 times per second, here's my current position, and these are the button states. Whereas at a high polling rate, for example 1000 hertz, it's the controller telling the host 1000 times per second. Obviously, the higher the frequency of this dialogue, the more promptly and precisely the host can understand every action you take. Benefits of high polling rate in different games. The benefits of a high polling rate in controllers are primarily focused on games that require quick reactions, such as shooters, racing games, and fighting games. In shooting games, a high polling rate ensures that every subtle movement of your thumbstick is reflected in the in-game crosshair with almost no delay, making tracking targets and fine-tuning crosshair placement more responsive and precise. At the same time, the delay between pulling the trigger and firing in-game is reduced, which is crucial in high-level gameplay. In fighting games, where input timing needs to be frame perfect, a high polling rate ensures that every directional input and button press during combo executions is captured promptly and accurately by the system, reducing the chances of dropped combos due to input delay. In high-speed racing games, even the slightest adjustments in steering are critical. A high polling rate makes the control input from the thumbstick more linear and smooth, allowing for finer steering and drift control, while minimizing overcorrection caused by delay. Besides the game types where polling rate clearly stands out, in other action games, such as the recently highly anticipated Hollow Knight, Silksong, a high polling rate enables faster execution of diagonal attacks or jumps in the game, which is essential given the title's high combat difficulty and platforming challenges. High polling rate equals low latency? A high polling rate in controllers does equate to lower latency in specific aspects, but this definition has key limitations. A high polling rate directly reduces the input transmission latency from the controller to the host, as a higher data sending frequency, for example 1000 Hz corresponding to a 1 millisecond interval, means the host receives updated operational signals more quickly, significantly improving the responsiveness of actions. However, the final in-game latency is the result of a complete system chain, which includes controller button input and MCU processing, host processing, game engine optimization, and display response. If these aspects face bottlenecks, such as a low refresh rate monitor or an underpowered CPU, the advantages of a high polling rate can be partially offset. Additionally, latency reduction follows the law of diminishing returns. The improvement from 125 Hz to 500 Hz is noticeably perceptible, but upgrades from 1000 Hz to even higher frequencies are hardly noticeable for the average user. On the other hand, frame interpolation smoothing algorithms are a technology that trades true latency for smoother visual operation. By using software algorithms to predict and correct raw joystick signals, they output a more stable and smoother virtual trajectory, thereby improving the visual experience by reducing camera shake or operational inconsistency. However, this algorithm requires additional time to process data, thus introducing a slight amount of algorithmic latency. More importantly, it no longer reflects real-time operations, but instead outputs a corrected signal, leading to a control feel that becomes less responsive or mushy. While this technology enhances the experience for single-player or casual games visually, it completely contradicts the demands of competitive gaming, which pursues ultra-low latency and authentic responsiveness. Professional players typically disable such features to ensure precision and speed in raw input. Therefore, while a high polling rate aims to reduce true latency, smoothing algorithms optimize visual experience by increasing latency and altering data, making their fundamental goals mutually contradictory. This is why many professional players still use controllers with 1000 Hz Hz polling rates for specialized competitions and competitive play. It also explains why, as controller polling rates continue to rise, the latency does not correspondingly decrease with higher polling rates. G7 Pro, high polling rate and low latency? I'll take both. The GameSir G7 Pro is engineered for competitive gamers who demand uncompromising speed and precision. On 0% dead zone mode, by offering true 0% dead zone support, it eliminates any unresponsive areas in the joystick movement, allowing for minute yet immediate adjustments. Crucially, to achieve the lowest possible input latency, GameSir has intentionally removed redundant processing algorithms, such as stick rebound compensation and jitter reduction filters, that are commonly used in consumer-grade controllers to smooth out inputs, but inevitably introduce delay. Without these artificial corrections, the G7 Pro delivers raw, unprocessed sensor data directly to the host system. This results in a 1-to-1 response ratio, ensuring that every physical movement is translated into game action with exceptional accuracy and minimal lag. The focus is on preserving the integrity of the user's input, making it an ideal tool for high-stakes competitive play where milliseconds determine victory. That's all for this episode of GameSir Reviews. If you have any questions about GameSir controller specs or how to set them up for optimal performance, feel free to join the GameSir Discord. Don't forget to hit the likes and subscribe if you enjoy our content. We'll see you soon.